Hey, good morning, it's Owen, Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Wanted to do a follow-up blog on one I did last month where I talked about the sales to active listings ratio. I talked about how inventory is still at historic 20-year lows and how the Vancouver Sun and the Globe and Mail had now been changing their pitch, talking about maybe the correction was over. I told you guys I never got the memo on that. So I wanted to elaborate because I had a lot of people that emailed me about the sales to active listings ratio. And this is a key and a very important stat to keep an eye on. It's really one of the only stats that will really tell you what a market is doing. So the sales to active listing ratio, let's keep it simple. It is the number of listings that hit in a given day, let's say, versus the number that have sold that same day. So for every 100 listings that get sold, listed in a day, right now in Vancouver, I'm going to say that we're running probably 70 to 75 would be sold. So about a 75% sales to active listings ratio. Now, to keep it in context here, for a market to be a strong, what's considered a seller's market, that ratio has to be 20% or higher. 20%. So for every 100 listings, if more than 20 sell in one day and 100 new listings come out that day, that's considered a seller's market. As I say, right now, for the numbers I track for downtown Vancouver and the surrounding neighborhoods of Vancouver, we are running probably close to about 70 to 80%. So if you list 10 homes today, 8 of those will be sold that same day. Not in one day on market, but it's the inventory that's sold and listed on a day-to-day basis. Now, right now, there's just another article that came out in the Vancouver Sun. It's funny how now they're starting to talk about this sales to listings ratio. You know, the media contacts me a fair bit, I should tell people, and I used to pursue the media a little bit more years ago, but I kind of gave up on it. I don't really need the media attention. I rely on my video blog here for that, but they do call me from time to time. A lot of times, depending on who's calling me, I don't even return the calls because I've had experiences in the past where they only want to hear what they want to hear. And oftentimes with me, I'm a pretty positive guy. I've always advocated, sure, Vancouver real estate can get into an overpriced market. Maybe there are some crazy things going on out there with foreign buyers and bidding wars and everything else, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It still makes a lot of sense for someone to buy their principal residence and at least keep it for 8 to 10 years or longer, and you're going to do fantastic. But a lot of times the media doesn't want to hear my message. Sometimes I think I'm a little bit too positive for them. They have an agenda. They're painting a picture that the market is in free fall and it's going down, and I'm telling them the reverse. I was telling them back this past winter to have a look at the sales to active listings ratio. They were saying that the market's going down based off sales volume, and I was telling them that stat doesn't mean anything unless you look at it to what the inventory is, and that's what the sales to active listings ratio does. Now all of a sudden, here in late May and June now, they're all of a sudden rolling out this stat with their stories that the market is now taking off again and the correction is over, even though it never really began, at least not with stratified properties. But in the latest one, they're talking about the hottest market right now is Victoria, that has a sales to active listings ratio of about 71%. And for the lower mainland, it's saying it runs about 48% for Greater Vancouver. So that might be true for Greater Vancouver when you take in Richmond and Burnaby and all the other neighborhoods. But I can tell you for downtown Vancouver and the surrounding neighborhoods in the downtown or the Vancouver core, we're probably running same as Victoria, 70 to 80%. So to keep it in context, anything over 20%, as I say, is considered a seller's market. From 12 to 20% is considered a balanced market, and anything under 12% is considered a buyer's market. So this goes to show, as I say, I think we're running closer to 70. This goes to show how far out we are into outer space on a seller's market right now. And how much inventory would need to build over the next 3 or 4 or 5 months to even get back into a balanced market. Now, it can happen, and eventually it will, but right now we're not even close when you're hovering at 70%. As I say, this inventory, what I blogged about last month, we need to see 200 new listings hit in Vancouver and 20, 30, 40 sold. So the net gain is 100 to 150 every single day for months on end. That's got to continue. And if that does, and eventually it probably will, when, I don't know, we're way away from it now, but eventually when it does, I will do another blog here and I will tell people that, hey, I'm finally starting to see 200 sales, 200 listings, and maybe 50 or 60 sales. Inventory has been building for several months now, and if it continues this way, you will see those prices start to get downward pressure on them. But for right now, this is just an historic, never seen before seller's market. When you're listing 100 units and 70 of those every day are getting picked off, and you need to get below 20 before it gets even balanced, we're not even close. There's 3 to 4 buyers for every seller right now. Again, eventually it will slow. The cause of that's probably going to be interest rate hikes and a number of other factors. But for right now, unprecedented seller's market. The sales to listing ratio is one of the key stats you want to keep an eye on. Anyone that tells you, starts throwing out stats about sales volume going down, it doesn't mean anything unless you take it into context with what the listings are and what the inventory is. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.